A myriad of complexities and complications face families who are seeking Medicaid waivers to provide life-sustaining support for those with severe disabilities. Senator Jim Abeler, a longtime advocate for people with disabilities and the chair of the Senate Human Services Reform Committee, joins me in this studio. Welcome.
Hey, great to be back.
The Department of Human Services has come under great scrutiny of late. Leadership departures, overpayments, data breaches. Here with Medicaid waivers, we've learned about the stress and uncertainty that families with severe disabilities or members with severe disabilities face as they attempt to navigate this annual assessment process. What is your perspective on this?
It's all about the people. Despite all the administrative challenges, you have to remember the focus of what the Department of Human Services is charged to do. We and they help over 1 million people in Minnesota that have some very challenging situations, and somewhere around 100,000 or so people with disabilities of all sorts and sizes rely on them to get care that's actually going to keep them alive and hopefully help them achieve independence and some form of success that they can get in this great state. And it's not a partisan matter, it's just a really hard policy matter, and it's a really hard thing to work with the state government in some of their inflexibility. And frankly, sometimes I'm convinced they've forgotten about the people as they work on their systems.
So systems like MinChoices, which is an assessment tool that the Department of Human Services rolled out in 2013, there's a revision in process. What is your assessment of this tool? Did it do what it was meant to do? In
short, no. We spend $250 million every 2 years to decide how to serve people, to do the assessment process. $250 million. Half comes from the state, half comes from the feds, but it's $250 million that I think has been close to being a failure. There's probably success stories, and the idea was to have uniformity and have a computerized system. And what's happened, it's become a depersonalized, inaccurate, skewed system. And depending upon who's looking at you decides what you're going to get or what you're not going to get. You might get too little, but you might get too much. And in a world where all the money matters to be spent as carefully as you can to help the most people, you want people to get just right.
I asked Senator John Hoffman, who's also on the program, for his assessment of MinChoices. He pointed out the turnover among assessors. There's a high burnout rate of 25%. He thinks we need to go back to how it used to be done, where you had county caseworkers who had relationships with the families that would visit on an annual basis, would know their story, could offer advice, and build that relationship. Is that possible to go back to that, or what is the future here?
Well, I hope we could. I mean, sometimes there's an idea that people think of it makes sense on paper, and you put it into action, and then you're spending $250 million every 2 years for a system that's not working. And sometimes you don't need to spend more than 10 minutes with a family if you know about what's going on and say, well, how's John doing? And has he been successful in getting into school? Well, no, he hasn't. Oh, well, let's make a note of that. And so otherwise, these assessments can take 2 to 8 hours long. And just the fact that you have that long of an assessment on these individuals with all these challenges is itself kind of torturous. Not to mention it doesn't work. And depending on what county you go to, depends upon what you're going to get. And some people actually have found themselves shopping they move to go from some county to another county because it's run better. And Minnesota has a state-directed, county-implemented human services system. It's not working. And Senator Hoffman and I have beat our head on a wall saying, could we make it work better? We need some changes, we need some changes. Yeah, well, we're working on that. Just lately, there was an update supposed to come for the technical changes in the computer, delayed 2 years. 2 years. The Human Service Department has over 700 IT workers. And they can't put a check on the box, skip this page, because it's an irrelevant page. Very frustrating.
So, as chair of the Human Services Reform Committee, do you have ideas for ways that the Department of Human Services could better handle this situation?
Absolutely. And part of it is listen to the counties, listen to their interviewers, listen to people like me who they talk to. But unfortunately, and I'm optimistic with the new commissioner, Commissioner Jody Harpstead, that she kind of comes out of this arena that she'll go like, we can do better than that. This is not a success I hate to call it a failure because that's kind of negative, but it's not what they set out to do. The money that's going is too rich. And it's time for the department to listen to the people in the trenches and listen to elected officials and to make this work better. It's just that important.
Is it necessary, though, to have some computer component? And how will you bring that uniformity? You mentioned that people move from county to county. There are Facebook forums that help people. There are real estate agents that help people to go to counties that operate better than other counties. Some counties give no aid at all. That's a huge nut to crack.
Well, the computers aren't going away. Welcome to the modern age, us dinosaurs, you know. But so the computers will be there, but they have to be made to work. And maybe we're asking too many questions. Maybe we're asking the wrong questions. The people on the front lines know this, and they have been pretty much told, no, we got this. And that's what I've been working with, and I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that Commissioner Harpstead will understand that and that we can bring all these good forces to bear who care about these individuals that depend so much on us to help them to succeed and to thrive. That's the goal.
One aspect that I thought also was interesting from the Star Tribune series on this was that the things that, so let's say a family gets, you know, aid, but they want to use it to pay in part for an art class to improve mobility. Some counties will approve that, some counties won't. So it's not even just you know, the amount of dollars that a family receives, but then when they receive those dollars, what is approved and what is not approved. What's the remedy for that?
Well, talking about it, we need to develop what are best practices. We don't know what works the best. And these individuals, even though they fit into a category, an A1B a case, they're not the same as the next one. And so as you talk to the parents, as you talk to the service companies that are providing the PCA or the home care or whatever for this individual, they aren't even allowed to really input much. And so can we become a student of this individual and help this individual thrive? And with the money we have, can we make that be the best invested? Yeah. It may look different from person to person, but each county should have the full array that it has available in its county to provide. And that's, again, a call for more discussion and more trust. DHS is working to restore trust with the state, the community, with the legislature. This is a great time, a great example of how they can reach out and say, how can we do better? And I'm confident, I'm optimistic that can happen under the new leadership that they have. I hope so.
Senator Jim Abeler, thank you.